Before you start engraving Pink Floyd lyrics on your gravestone, ask yourself, were they really the best? Or just the most worshipped? What if the bands that truly redefined music never got the spotlight? Before we tear the Floyd myth apart, hit subscribe like you're slamming a door on overrated legends. Number 5. Can, the band that sounded like a fever dream in motion. You want something strange? Let's start with Can, a band that didn't just play music, they made noise feel alive. Can was from Germany. They didn't care about rules. While Pink Floyd was carefully building their spacey smooth sound, Can was busy tearing music apart and gluing it back together in ways that made no sense. Their 1971 album, Tago Mago, didn't gently invite you in. It grabs you, spins you around, and throws you into something loud, fast, and hypnotic. The drums never stop. You don't hum Can songs, you just feel them crawling up your spine. They didn't care about hits. They didn't care about fitting in. This was music for people who liked to be confused. People said it sounded alien, but it wasn't from another planet. It was from a version of Earth where music wasn't afraid to go completely off the rails. But here's the thing, hardly anyone heard them. They didn't get big like Pink Floyd. They didn't play huge arenas or sell millions of records. Their music was too wild, too rough, too different. They didn't sing in English most of the time, and they didn't play nice with radio stations. They were legends in secret. If you knew them, you loved them, but the world just wasn't ready. Floyd got famous, Can got forgotten, but almost every experimental band after them stole something from their sound. So no, they didn't get the spotlight, but they lit the match. And now we move on to a band that made rock music feel like a math puzzle that punches back. Of course, talking about number 4, Gentle Giant, the band that played rock in 7 dimensions. Imagine 5 guys walk into a studio, each with a different instrument and the brain of a music professor. That's Gentle Giant. While Pink Floyd was busy making spacey sounds and trippy lights, Gentle Giant was building music like it was a complicated machine. Their 1972 album, Octopus, didn't just play, it moved in layers. One moment it felt like a medieval choir, the next it hits you with a jazz riff or a rock beat that came out of nowhere. These guys didn't follow music rules. They changed time signatures every few seconds. They used flutes, violins, weird old keyboards, and 5-part harmonies like it was normal. And the crazy part? It still sounded good. You could actually get hooked on it. Honestly, if you're vibing with this kind of musical chaos, hit like and subscribe because we got more bands that broke all the rules and somehow made it work. They weren't just good musicians, they were on another level. Every song was like a maze. You had to focus or you get lost halfway through. But here's where it went wrong. They were too smart for the radio. Their songs weren't short or easy to sing along to. By the late 70s, the music scene was changing. People wanted simple, loud, and fast. Punk and disco were taking over. So Gentle Giant tried to go pop with albums like The Missing Piece and Giant for a Day to stay alive, but it didn't work. Critics hated it, fans left, and the new audience didn't care. Their final album, Civilian, barely made it onto the charts, and in 1980, they quietly broke up. So yeah, Gentle Giant was more talented than most bands, including Floyd, but they were just too complex for the mainstream. Floyd gave people a show, Gentle Giant gave them homework, and nobody wanted to do homework at a concert. Now get ready, because this next band didn't just challenge Floyd, they actually scared people. Talking about number 3, Harmonia, the band that made ambient before it had a name. Now you probably haven't heard of Harmonia, and that's totally fine, because Brian Eno did, and he called them the most important band in the world. No pressure. Harmonia was what happened when members of New and Cluster got bored of merely reinventing krautrock and decided to build soundscapes instead. Imagine if minimalism grew a heartbeat and started humming in German. That's Harmonia. Calling their sound electronic felt like calling the ocean wet. It was ambient before ambient knew it was a genre. Synth textures, loops, gliding melodies, and that uncanny ability to make silence feel like part of their rhythm. Their albums, especially Musik von Harmonika and Deluxe, don't play songs, they generate worlds. Nothing feels forced, nothing chases you, you just drift. They weren't trying to build anthems, they were building atmospheres. David Bowie couldn't get enough during his Berlin phase, and when Brian Eno worked with them in 1976, he basically said, yeah, they've already figured out the future, I'm still trying to invent. Floyd is what you listen to when you want to feel alone in the universe. Harmonia is what you put on when you want to transcend it entirely. Floyd makes you sink deeper, Harmonia lets you float, and sometimes that's exactly what your brain needs. So yeah, the next time you fire up Echoes, try Deluxe instead. and see which one makes your neurons whisper thank you. But hey, if floating isn't your thing and you'd rather be electrocuted by a jazz storm, stay tuned. Mahavishnu is coming. Number 2. Mahavishnu Orchestra, the band that made Floyd look like nap time. There was a moment in the early 70s when music didn't know what hit it. That moment was called the Mahavishnu Orchestra. This wasn't a band that you eased into. Their debut album, The Inner Mounting Flame, 1971, felt like someone ripped open a portal and jumped all of jazz, rock, and Indian classical and some kind of divine madness straight into your ears. No soft intros, no gentle grooves, just full-speed, brain-melting brilliance. They weren't experimenting, they were erupting. McLaughlin's guitar sounded like he was trying to escape the planet. The drums, they didn't keep rhythm, they attacked it. Violins, keys, and bass played like they were leading the charge, not following. It was 5 musicians all sprinting towards a different finish line, and somehow arriving at the same second. While Floyd spent minutes building up the atmosphere, Mahavishnu didn't wait. They dropped you into chaos and dared you to keep up. And still, despite praise from giants like Jeff Beck and a seat at the table with Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, they didn't survive. Constant touring drained them. McLaughlin refused to share songwriting credits. The band started talking through magazines instead of each other. And just like that, in 1973, they fell apart. Mid-tour, mid-flight, mid-everything. No farewell, no slow fade, just over. Floyd sold stadiums. Mahavishnu barely held themselves together. Not because they lacked fans, because they pushed so hard, so fast, that the machine cracked. Their music was too complex, too intense, too much for the mainstream to handle. They didn't fail because they weren't good. They failed because they were too good, too early. They lit the path for fusion and burned out before they could walk it themselves. Floyd gave us soundscapes. Mahavishnu gave us shockwaves. Guess which one that the world could handle? In number 1, we have Budgie, the riff-making monsters who paved the way for metal. You like Bread Fan, right? Even if you think you don't, Metallica made sure you do. But here's the twist. Metallica didn't write it. Budgie did. And they did it before anyone really knew what a mosh pit was. Budgie wasn't polite. They were loud and fast in the best way possible. They weren't clean or pretty. They were raw. They mixed hard rock with strange, unpredictable lyrics, and riffs so heavy that it hit you like a punch. Think of Tony Iommi's Muscle with Robert Plant's Swagger, then crank it up another notch. That was Budgie. They laid the groundwork for what heavy metal would become. While Pink Floyd spent time building cosmic concept albums and elaborate stage shows, Budgie was building the foundations of metal. They didn't write symphonies, they wrote weapons. Songs like Bread Fan and Napoleon Bonaparte Part 1 didn't creep into your brain. They burst in and got lodged in your ear canal. They weren't about slow intros or spacey breakdowns. They were about one thing, a riff you couldn't shake. And yet, they never got the fame they deserved. They opted for acts like Black Sabbath and Kiss, but never headlined huge shows. Despite influencing future icons, they played in small venues and faded into cult status. Record labels didn't know what to do with them, critics barely noticed them, and radio stations skipped over their heavy sound. When Metallica covered Bread Fan, it wasn't just a tribute, it was a rescue mission. Suddenly, people listened. They traced it back and found Budgie, but even that wasn't enough to bring them back into the spotlight. They tried, with albums like Deliver Us From Evil and If I Were Britannia, I'd Waive the Rules. But the scene was already moving on. Punk and glam metal took over. Budgie sounded like an out-of-time beast roaring in empty rooms. And yet their impact echoes everywhere. Iron Maiden borrowed their swagger. Van Halen borrowed their attitude. Even modern metal bands still play their riffs in their heads. Did we just commit rock blasphemy by saying these bands were better than Pink Floyd? Tell us what you think in the comments. Like and share if you dare, and if that riled you up, wait till you hear our Rolling Stones debate. And of course, subscribe now.